Hey everybody, happy Friday. Oh my goodness. I tell you, you got to log into this, log into that, then you log out of that, you change your password, you still got to log in. Oh my gosh. Makes me crazy. Hey Lisa, good to see you. Hope you're doing well, my friend. But yeah, that's why I was a minute late. So sorry. I'm here. I made it. Hey, Heather, Milk and Honey Heritage, good to see you. Hey, Gwen, Broke Cowgirl Homestead, good to see you. Hey, Juana and Nick at About 6 Acres, good to see you guys. Hope you're all doing well tonight. I was lamenting on the fact that, you change your password to something and then you got to sign in on this device and then this device. And then I think it locked me out on this device. Whatever. Over it. Over it. And then Gwen had 2 commercials. Sorry, I actually remembered to monetize it ahead of time, which I always forget. Gwen knows that. I try my best. Hey, good to see you, Busy You. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. I am looking real quick. Hold on one second. I just want to look real quick. Okay. So I prepped the topic, but that was like hours ago. Sort of like I slept since then, Anyway, I think it was food prep because I can't look now. I'm going to see if I can find it. I think it was. Yes. Oh, being an ingredient household. That's right. Normally I'm prepared, but like I said, that was this morning and this is now, and a lot has happened since then today. Hey, Troy Sutton, good to see you. Yes, Gwen forgot to remind me. I appreciate you, Gwen, all the time. You have no idea. Yes, being an ingredient household. So let me pull up my notes real quick. Give me a second, because like I said, I was running late and then I got all out of whack because it made me put in all these passcodes and it was making me crazy. Okay. There we go. There it is. I have got it right here. Now if I can find my bar to move it. I got all kinds of problems tonight, folks. I tell you. So, you guys, I know you guys that are here in the chat know what an ingredient household is, right? I'll say it anyway in case anybody's watching the replay. And I'm using an article, I had pinned it in the chat. But it's an ingredient household is one where the kitchen is stocked with the building blocks of meals, things like grains, legumes, spices, fresh produce, rather than primarily pre-made or packaged foods. This approach allows for flexibility in cooking, can be adapted to different preferences, budgets, and time constraints. For some, this means making bread from scratch, cooking beans from dry. For others, it means having basic pantry staples that make it easier to throw together quick meals. A lot of scratch cooking for this method. No one size fits all method, just a shift towards keeping ingredients that work for you. And so, one of the things that work for us is we freeze all our garden produce. We blanch and freeze it. If it needs to be blanched, we blanch and freeze it. We vac seal it because we prefer frozen vegetables. We like the way they taste, the texture, all that. So even though we may not have fresh produce, quote unquote, we have a lot of our garden produce. Or I also turn them into like casseroles. Like we've been having squash casseroles that I put in the freezer at the end of the summer, and also zucchini bakes, and they're great. They're great, but a lot of scratch cooking. Busy You said, need to move to a meal ready to eat household for those days you don't want to cook. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we've done meals ready to eat. Like we've done freeze dried meals in a jar. We've done sloppy joes. We've done chicken fajitas. We did a sausage, potato, and egg casserole. Sausage, potato, and cheese casserole. We did potatoes au gratin and scallop potatoes in a jar. We did trying to think of what else. But a lot of the times, like we'll easily do a freezer meal because, like I said, we took the squash casserole out while this kitchen is being worked on. Took the squash casserole out. It was frozen. We put it in our countertop oven. Worked great. Heated it right up. And we had fresh garden produce making me hungry because you said, yeah, no kidding. We've been eating a lot of beef and steak, ground beef and steak this week. Because since the stove's been out, we can cook it on the grill, so it works great. And at this point, the stove is not going back in, so that's even better because we have to get a new one finally. We've been limping that bugger along for 6 years since we moved in because we wanted to wait until we did the kitchen to buy a new one. So, oh my gosh, 2 more commercials, Gwen, ignore them. Just skip them. That's ridiculous. I have no control over that. I just picked a lot, I just set the live and it comes up when you monetize it. Weird. Because I don't set it up in YouTube. I set it up in StreamYard. Weird. So yeah, you have my permission to skip. Let's see what else. So a lot of the things that we do, no skip button. You raking in my pennies. Yeah, pennies. Thank you, Gwen. Thank you. YouTube pays so much, right? Every little bit helps, right? And we do appreciate it though, seriously. One of the things that we like to do is buy in bulk. And we either buy in bulk from our Black Hills bulk order or the pop-up shop, or you can buy in bulk anywhere, whether it's the farmer's market, you want to order a case of something, or you can pick up a case of items like when it's on sale. Those are the times to take advantage of things if you want to be an ingredient household. One of the things we noticed in the kitchen is we have spices like you wouldn't believe. There are just spices everywhere. And one of our missions is to rein in the spice thing because we use them all, but there's just so many. And then, we see a deal on paprika in the big container, right, from like Sam's Club or wherever. And then we got a deal on bay leaves in a really big container. And then it's like we have small containers, large containers, and they're everywhere. So one of my goals is to buy jars to go in our new spice rack and make sure they have labels on the top and the side so you can find them easily. And we'll fill the little jar with bay leaves and put the large bay leaf in the pantry, large bay leaf jar in the pantry, because it's like out of control. But when you're making all those meals from scratch, you need a lot of that stuff, right? Because sometimes you need cream of tartar, sometimes you need baking soda, you need cinnamon and all that kind of thing. Whereas normally we don't use a lot of that, but when you use a recipe, you need it. So always good to have that kind of stuff on hand. The other thing is meat, right? So if you can't raise your own meat, you can also buy bulk meat, whether you get it from a rancher when you get a cow or you get a pig or a lamb, all that kind of thing. And If you don't have access to that or you're not able to do that, you can also go to, like, say, Sam's Club, and you can buy an entire piece of meat, right? Cut your own pork chops, cut pork roasts. Those are the things that we used to do before we raised our own. Buy whole chickens versus parted. Sometimes that's a bigger saving. But there are definitely ways to save money. You can buy a 50-pound bag of flour. I bought a 50-pound bag of flour, organic, unbleached, from Black Hills Bulk, and I have it in my tote with a gamma lid, and I'll use that up. Once I use that up, I will probably switch to some fresh milled flour because we do have that KitchenAid attachment. But those are some really good things that you can do. Heather says, I separated my baking spices from my meal spices to 2 different cabinets. Brilliant. What a great idea. What a great idea. Gwen says, we cut up pork loin for pork chops. Another great idea. Excellent. That's some of the stuff we used to do. And what I love about it is, say you want some thin pork chops, and then you want to cut 2 thicker because you want to make stuffed pork chops. You can easily do that. And then you can decide exactly what you want. It's awesome. But I think the biggest thing, like, and I know Juana at About 6 Acres makes a lot of sourdough, right? And buying those ingredients to have all that on hand all the time to be able to make sourdough all the time is super helpful. For me, and I've said it a million times, is when you're living rural, or even if you're not living rural, but I'm going to say it because that's what we do, live in rural. Obviously, staying prepared because the world is insane. So we'll just leave that at that, right? We remember all the shortages of 2020. We prefer to buy when it is on sale, buy when it is good looking stuff. Like, say, the 40 pounds of onions we bought from the Shriners were beautiful onions from Georgia. It was great. But if I go down to Black Hills Bulk and I see that they have, a couple weeks ago, they had leeks, I kicked myself because I only bought one huge leek. And I mean, they were huge and they were a good price. I should have bought a ton more because they can easily be chopped and put in the freezer. And even though I had leeks in the freezer, trust me, I don't have tons of leeks in the freezer. But it saves you money when you can get stuff on sale, have it on hand. You don't have to run to the store. You don't have to go out of your way and pay a higher price because maybe it's local, or local is at least 2 times more money than Walmart in Rapid City, at least, all year round. But I think for those reasons, it's just really good to always have that stuff on hand, because a lot of us are returning to that scratch-made cooking. And then there's the other part, right? Scratch-made cooking, right? Good food made convenient, which goes back to what Brenda at Busy You said, is having meals ready to eat, whether you freeze dry them, you freeze them, you can them, having them ready so that way you can have a quick meal, but it's good food. It's not processed food. It's not the ultra processed food. I saw this thing. I was reading this book. I don't have it in front of me. It's about ultra processed food. The guy talks about, and this is how it clicked with me. We were removing the dishwasher, and before we did it, I pulled out the filter because I pull it out a lot, and it was gross. It was gross. There's like slime on that dang thing. Gross. Okay. I take it in there. I'm getting all with degreaser. I get all the stuff off, and it's beautiful, right? Then I go to bed that night and I'm reading the book. And the book talks about which is weird to me, and I'll tell you why in a minute. They say a lot of that gunk buildup in the bottom of the dishwasher has to do with a lot of the ingredients in the ultra processed foods. Now, don't get me wrong, we are not a low tox household, okay? But we don't eat tons of crap. We don't buy processed foods. But if I'm seeing that in my dishwasher, I can only imagine if I was eating the other stuff. Mine is probably because I don't rinse off the grease as good as I should, I'll admit, and I toss it in the dishwasher. Do you ever make potato leek soup? Yes, we do, and we make it ahead and freeze it, and absolutely love potato leek soup. That is a favorite here. We love it. But it just comes in so handy and so convenient, because for the first time in since we're living here and in this lifestyle versus before, I used to have to go get something every time I wanted to follow a recipe, and now I find we've increased our stash and we have a lot of these ingredients on hand. I freeze some of the raw milk cream that I get. I freeze some of the raw milk to put in recipes, so I have it on hand, and it's just fabulous. The other day I made like a baked spaghetti, right, in the crock pot, because that was the only thing I could find to cook in, and we didn't have the stove. So I will say I prefer it in the oven versus in the crock pot because it was mushy. I didn't like it. But anyway, it was food, right? 3 nights of food when you don't have a stove. It worked great. So what I ended up doing was I put all the sauce in there, all that stuff, and I know that homegrown tomato pasta sauce is so acidic, it makes me sick. I love it, but it makes me sick. So one of the things I did was I took out of the freezer a cup of frozen raw cream, threw it in with the pasta, and I was able to eat it and it didn't bother me. So it made it more like a creamy sauce in the crock pot because it reduced over time. So it was great. It is the best feeling, Juana. It is. And it just feels so good to be able to say, okay, I'm going to go make a chocolate cake. I've got all the ingredients here. Because anytime I use up, like I love this cacao powder from Spruce Market in town. And what I do is the minute I use the rest of it up, the next day I went and bought a new container. So I have it on hand because then when I want to make it, it's there. Your raw milk will freeze dry wonderfully. Quart per tray in the medium freeze dryer makes great hot cocoa. I have to try that hot cocoa. I've got it here. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I've got those super cubes, and sometimes I just say, I'm going to freeze a cup, and then we take it out. We don't even defrost it really. We just take it out and let it sit there for an hour before dinner and then throw it in the meal, and it works. I love it. But yes, I'm going to start freeze drying some. I definitely want to do that for coffee too. And I just love it. It's just amazing. I just love having stuff on hand. So what are some of the things that you guys do to make sure you have stuff on hand, to make sure you have all you need? Do you feel like you're an ingredient household? I'm curious. For us, we were not always like this. Not always. No, 2020 really was an eye-opener, and the past 6 years have been a lot of changes that we've made to be less reliant on the grocery store. We're never going to be able to be 100% self-sufficient. And that goes back to that whole community sufficiency, right? But we just love having this stuff on hand because we just make whatever we want. Like I have tons of yeast. If I just want to make yeast bread one day, I can. I want to make rolls. I want to make a pizza because I forgot to take something out of the freezer. It's there. 1 quart It sounds like Busy You, Heather, was saying 1 quart per tray in the medium freeze dryer. Now, Heather, I think you have the medium with the 5 trays, not the 4. So it might be different for you. But 1 quart per tray is still the same. Gwen says, canning, dehydrating, freezing produce. Yes, you do a great job of that. You do a real good job of that. You've even done milk before. Some of your goat's milk you've canned, which I thought was cool. Busy You says, yes and no. Hardest is during harvest. Too much going on to get it all done. Very true. It's really hard to get it all done. I find for us what works is like I've got to do a little every day. But no one's perfect. No one's perfect. What I try to do is use up, like if I see something starting to go bad, I try to like cook it up so it lasts a little longer. Heather said, I've been working towards the goal for like 20 years, learning everything by myself. Definitely new things to learn. So much to learn. Gosh, I can't tell you how much I've learned in the past 6 years and so much more I need to learn. You know, like I think about the salt curing and the salt curing eggs and salt curing meat. And it's like, I have no idea about that stuff. You know, I mean, sure, I've seen people do it. I've read about it, but I just don't know enough to do it where it would be safe. But there's so much to do. 1 quart per tray, just add back 1 quart of water. I do some in jars and seal them, but mylar bags take up less space. Thank you. That should help, Heather. Gwen says, I would love to learn how to salt cure meat. I think it would be really cool. I see people do the eggs and it just doesn't appeal to me, but they say it's really good. We keep, Juana said at About 6 Acres says, we keep working towards that goal. We are getting there. I think making time is the hardest time to learn, to do things we want to preserve, etc. Yeah. And then working full time, right? Because I know you guys are working full time. Then you got the animals and all the things you want to learn. And all that. It is hard. It is hard. And I know Busy You has 1,000,001 things going on in her life. So it's like, it is busy. Absolutely busy. It was like, when you think about wanting to do things, it's a balance between letting time pass without making I'm trying to think how to say this. It's a balance between learning the things and making time to learn them while also not letting them completely fall to the wayside. And that's a challenge. That can be really hard. We talk about that a lot with Mountain Grandma, with Tammy, because it's hard, you want to find some balance. And I remember Heather was one of the first people when we talked about making soap, and we talked about how a bunch of us all bought all the kits, bought all the supplies, and then we never made time to do it. And one of the things we did was like, we were like, okay, next week, you're going to report back on how your soap making went, right? And Heather joined Soaptober or September at the time. I don't even remember because we did it in September and October. And Heather made these adorable little pig soaps. They were just the cutest things ever. And it finally kind of pushed her to do it, or motivated her to do it. And I know it was super helpful for me because I remember I was learning soap at the same time, and I was having an issue with my soap not hardening. And I realized while we were talking on one of those goal lives is I had one of those things where, to go to the store and you go to get 2 cans of peas. And when you get home, you got a can of peas and maybe there was a dented can. So you went and reached for another can. and you get home and you have peas and green beans. That's what I did with the lye. A friend of mine gave me the name of the lye that I needed to get, and I got the one for soft soap, not hard soap, because there was a better price on another dealer and the bottle looked the same. So, it's crazy. But just, pushing ourselves sometimes it's hard. It's hard, right? Because you got 4 million obligations and you have all these things you have to get done. But I do encourage you, even if you make like 15 minutes a week for something you want to learn. Hey, Charlene Heal, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We're doing good. Um, but yeah, like I know one of the things is some people want to learn how to sew or they want to sew more. And some of the things that I've done is when I wanted to do more sewing, I set up my sewing machine on a table, even if it was a folding table, right? Just to have it in the corner of the room. That way, when I was ready to sew, I could sit down for 15 minutes and pretty much do what I wanted to do to sew when I was busy, and that kind of thing. So sometimes that's helpful. And MIL, a mother-in-law that always needs something. Yeah, that's challenging. It's super challenging. And you're trying to get all this stuff done and, and someone keeps interrupting and coming first. It's hard. So hard. Absolutely. So I can tell you, we started making the stuffing and the breadcrumbs. I need to get better at making bread. I know how to make it. I do good at it. I need to ante up and stop being lazy and make my own bread. And I just need to get out of that mindset because it's not hard. Usually when I make sourdough, like I've made 2 sandwich loaves, or I made a very large sandwich loaf and I cut it in half and freeze half. So I really have no excuse, but I really need to get better at doing sourdough. Not sourdough, bread in general, and rolls and that kind of thing, and putting dough in the freezer so it's ready. All I have to do is put it in the fridge to frost it. And then have rolls and be good to go. There's always room for improvement, even when you're an ingredient household. One of the things we do is buy, we talked about bulk cheese blocks. We buy 5-pound blocks of cheese. We've not gotten into cheese making yet. We got to get the kitchen done first. I've made mozzarella and farm cheese and that kind of stuff, but I've not made like cheddar or anything like that. So we get those 5-pound blocks of cheddar. And yes, when I get the kitchen done, yeah. We get those 5-pound blocks of cheddar, and we happen to have, like I said, this week, we had what do you call it? Sorry, I got distracted listening to what's going on in the living room. We have a lot of ground beef when you buy a cow, right? So we've been taking out just packages of ground beef and throwing it in the fridge because lunch today was take a couple burgers, right? Made 4 patties out of the package of beef, and we had cheese on hand, so we just literally had cheeseburgers, no bread or anything like that. We didn't have anything sides with it, but we just had 2 small cheeseburgers apiece for lunch, and it worked because we didn't eat until right before the live, so we're perfect. And we were working all day, so it was easy cleanup too. Now that we have so many fresh eggs, freezing a lot more fresh pasta is the goal. That'll be really cool. So when you say freezing more fresh pasta, do you say like once you've made it, you're going to put it in containers and put it in the freezer, or are you going to make the dough and freeze it? I have that Durham wheat and I went to make fresh pasta and it was fresh milled Durham wheat, and the dough didn't work out. The recipe didn't work out. So I'm going to try a new one. but I love fresh pasta. It's just so good. Charlene said, I want to start making my own bread more often. I want to try different types. That's awesome. There's so many recipes out there. Oh, Heather says, we had cheeseburgers last night. No bread, no nothing else. Was perfect. Yep. We've been living that life for the past week. It's crazy. Busy You says, I need to start scheduling products to get done before I start a new project. The new ones are so much more fun. So true. So true. When I worked in the corporate world, one of my bosses was like, he's like, you schedule the deadlines and you schedule all that stuff. And he's like, you need to schedule time to work on the stuff that you have to put on your deadlines. And that always helped. We have the to-do list on the freezer, and I used to have it on my phone and I still do. But the one on the freezer has been life-changing for us because I have a marker taped to the freezer and we just cross it off as we get to it. Juana says, yes, making fresh pasta and then freezing it already cut, so you just throw it in the boiling water for a few minutes. Nice. That's awesome. Hey, living my best life 9697. That's awesome, Juana. I agree with you. I found some pasta right before the kitchen was tore out. I found some frozen pasta in the freezer that I forgot about. I thought I used it all. Oh, it's amazing. Yes, Charlene. I bought Durham wheat berries, which is what the flour is made out of. What you do is you grind the berries. They're not berries, they're just called that, but they're grain. And you put it through a grain mill and you get flour, and then made our own pasta from that. Although mine didn't go too well with the dough, so I didn't get much farther than that. But I've made pasta with flour before. It works great. I have to get a bread maker or may not want to experiment with bread making, too much manual labor. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of steps, a lot of rising, let it rise, let it set, let it rise, let it set. And our house is never warm enough to let it rise. It takes forever. But there is nothing like fresh bread. I was trying to think, what else did we buy? We order from the bulk order and it's next Saturday we pick up. Trying to think of what I wanted to buy so much more. But we just, the kitchen is the problem right now. I really want to make pasta. As you said, have the wheat, need to get a good recipe. Never thought of freezing dough. Grandma used to dry hers. That's awesome too. Drying is a great way to do it. I have a recipe. No, I shouldn't say that. I have a book on fresh milled flour, Busy You. So if you want to look through it, I'm happy to give that to you to take a look at. I did not use it for my Durham, did I? Or did I use one online? I can't remember, but oh, it's so cool. Fresh pasta is so nice to have on hand. I've heard of people freezing dough for bread. I've heard of people freezing dough for rolls, pizza dough. So I would assume you can freeze pasta dough. I don't know. Of course, I think it's smarter to freeze the pasta though, because then you're good to go. Heather said, I'm trying to diversify my time each day between have tos and need tos. It's definitely a balance of multiple things. Sure is. That's a great way to look at, have to, need to, and if there's time, how about I want to, right? Probably not a lot of time left for that. Gwen says, oh, my contractor got some wood chips spread and ran out of daylight just as I predicted. I got 2 more blackberry bushes planted and 3 raised beds weeded. Whoop, whoop. Well, I'm sorry your contractor ran out of daylight. My contractor had an eye appointment today, so we had to stop early, but we got the first row of cabinets up on the top on the one side. Whoop, whoop. Excited about that. For dry yeasted bread, use the proof setting in your Breville oven. It's awesome. Good to know. I will try that, Juana. I got the oven and haven't made yeasted bread since, so that's a good idea. Thank you. Charlene says she's feeling inspired to make her own pasta now. Good for her. Hey, Jennifer Ocean, good to see you. Hey, our flippin' Farmstead, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So what other ways are you an ingredient household? Is this something you want to work towards, or is this something you don't want to work towards? Because it doesn't work for everybody. You know, it depends on your schedule. I'm just going to look through my list. I think I covered a lot of it, even though it doesn't sound like it. I did. So while I'm waiting for you guys, let's talk about getting started as an ingredient-based kitchen. And so some of the things are identify the staples you already use. So before you buy anything new, look at the meals you already make and you already like, and they're in your rotation. What ingredients are in those recipes and are there frequently? Start by stocking those. So some of the examples are grains and legumes, which are rice, quinoa, lentils, beans, oats, pasta, flour. Proteins, eggs, canned or fresh fish, tofu, nuts, seeds, dried berries. Obviously, dairy or dairy alternatives, whatever works for you, milk, yogurt, cheese, butter, oils and vinegar. We buy our oil in bulk. We either buy olive oil or avocado oil. And obviously, we have our lard. We also have beef tallow. Canned and jarred goods, tomatoes, coconut milk, broth, nut butters. Obviously, all the seasonings and condiments, and then fresh and frozen produce. Just remember, you don't need to stock up on everything at once. Just stock up on what you use a lot of and makes sense for your household. We have pretty much been an ingredient household since we moved here so far from a grocery store. But there are things we still buy. Of course. Of course. Anyone who says they're not buying anything, they're lying. Because it's really hard to be 100% self-sufficient. Brenda says, think I need to focus on stuff I want to eat. Lisa, you took the words right out of my mouth. Good, I'm glad. I know for us, a big thing for us to have on hand is freeze-dried onions, freeze-dried peppers, but freeze-dried onions are a must in this house. Gotta have them. Oh, I'm trying to move the screen down. Dawn at Our Flippin' Farmstead says, I want to get some wheat berry and grind my own bread flour. Go for it. You can do it. You can do it. And the other thing you can do is like Harvey's right here. And I don't know if other places offer this. I know some places do. Sometimes you can buy the wheat berries, and they'll grind it for you. Maybe they'll only grind a 5-pound bag at a time, but they'll grind it for you. Gwen says, I mean, I'm not making tater chips. Heather says, I don't buy anything. My husband took over shopping, but our list is very, very small. Exactly. Yeah, same here. My husband's much better at shopping than I am. I make zucchini chips. They're so good. And carrot chips. Oh, yeah, those are yummy. The biggest thing is I will always use the example of me in 2020 with the black beans, or 2020. 50-pound bag of rice, 50 pounds of black beans. Not a bean eater, right? I shouldn't have bought 50 pounds of black beans because I don't eat them enough. So I have them all vac sealed. and I need to start canning them. And I've been saying this for the longest time, but I don't do anything with them because I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to eat them. That's a great example of buy things you're going to eat. The rice we went through, it took years, but we went through it. But the beans, the beans I should have never bought. Fresh wheat berry. Oh, wait a minute. Charlene says, I agree. It was easier back in the day, but so much work to be at that level. Jennifer Ocean said, fresh wheat berries last about a day. You would have to freeze it if freshly milled. Yep, you can freeze it. Absolutely. Charlene, I freeze dry it in a freeze dryer, Harvest Right freeze dryer. Our flippin' farmstead. Oh, black bean burgers. They can replace meat if you season them right. I've had them. I think they're great. My daughter has alpha gal and can't have mammal meat. Yeah. Yep. I'm glad that that's working for her. About 6 acres said, yep, just like in the garden, grow things you're going to eat. Absolutely. Do not waste your time. For me, it's grow things you're going to eat. And for me, it's grow things that do well. Otherwise, I don't waste my time on them. I want prolific or I don't want them. So broccoli and cauliflower are must-haves for us here, and zucchini and yellow squash because we know that we'll have a bountiful harvest of them to freeze. Step 2 is build a few simple go-to meals. So it can be overwhelming to open a pantry of ingredients and not know what to cook. Have a few basic meals that you can make with staples can help. Oatmeal or overnight oats, scrambled eggs with toast and veggies, a simple stir fry, tacos or wraps, super chili. I took all the butternut squash that we grew last year and let them cure for a while and then made butternut soup. Honey roasted butternut soup with some chili flakes. Oh my gosh, we froze it. So meals for ahead of time. And the good news about the go-to meals can be adjusted based on what's available or affordable. Once you have a few meals that work for you, adding variety gets easier. Yeah, those garden catalogs are a menace. I try not to even look at them. The only one I look at is Baker Creek because I know a lot of that stuff, as you know, busy you, is not going to grow here because a lot of it is like the exotic stuff. It's not growing here. It's just not. But boy, I love looking because that catalog is beautiful. They do lead you down the garden path. They sure do. Shop with a flexible mindset. Shop with a flexible mindset is step 3. When shopping, think about ingredients that can be used in multiple ways rather than just for one recipe. So like the onions that I talked about earlier. Onions are in many recipes. So that's why they're great to have on hand. Freeze them in or freeze dry them and have them in either jars where you can take the amount you need, or you can freeze them. We eyeball it and say, okay, this is 1 onion or this is a half an onion. And we put them in there in the freezer. Check bulk options by versatile ingredients and look for what's available and affordable. The approach is not about perfection. It's about making use of what works for you. Baker Creek Facebook posts are not something that makes me want to order seeds. Is that I used to follow them on Instagram. I can't anymore. Is like the dude in the greenhouse, that freaky dude? Is that what you're talking about, Gwen? He looks like he needs to be at Woodstock in the 60s. It is not appealing to me. The catalog is beautiful, but those posts, I can't. I can't. So step 4 is swap pre-made for homemade if you want to. So if you're interested in making more items from scratch, start small with swaps that fit your lifestyle. So this is a perfect example of how, and I'm going to call Juana out because this is what she does beautifully, is she makes bread. And so for her family, instead of store-bought bread, she's making homemade bread. So that's a great swap. Some people could do pre-made granola, switch it for do your own granola. In fact, I'm hoping to do that soon. Bottled salad dressing, instead using olive oil, vinegar, and seasonings, or like when you use the chive blossom vinegar or the strawberry vinegar and make that. Box pancake mix, start making your own pancake mix. So it's really easy. It's not about doing everything you can yourself. It's just making swaps where it makes sense for you. Pick something easy. Love onions. Do they taste different after freeze drying? I don't think so. I like them. I think they taste the same. The only thing that I do notice is when they are freeze dried, they tend to float when you add them to a recipe versus, bogged down in the juices or in the liquid. They tend to float. So like when I use freeze dried onions for a pot roast or chicken stock or that kind of thing, the little onion pieces float. I love to do what I call session meal planning. Monday I make a ham, then Tuesday I make ham and beans, then we use the leftover beans to make chili, and then bean burritos and ham salad out of the ham. That's awesome. Way to go. That's a great idea. Gwen says, yeah, him, ick. Yeah, he is icky. It's very creepy. Busy You said, need to plant massive amounts of chives, love the freeze dried. Biggest issue is harvesting. Need to get one of those cool scissors that make chopping them. Usually what I do is I grab the whole bunch and I sit there and I pull the dead stuff out and then I make a cut. And then when I bring it in, I lay it out on a cutting board and I wash them and then I lay it out on a cutting board and I pull out any more stuff I don't want. And then I just chop them. Jennifer Ocean said Baker Creek is overpriced and low germination. Beautiful catalog, but they don't, hold on, give many seeds and they turn liberal. Let's see here. Yeah, I agree. They are overpriced and I agree they're low germination, if no germination. I've had that before. But I've bought some stuff from them just because I happen to like some of their stuff. But I'm finding a lot of the seed catalogs are getting kind of chintzy and you're spending a lot more money and you have to like when you order your seeds, like say Purple Cherokee, you order, I don't know, a half a gram or a gram and a half. I don't remember the measurements, but you literally have to select and it's such a big difference. It's crazy. Crazy. I think they're capitalizing on the fact that they know everybody is buying seeds more now. Have a great granola recipe. Maybe we need to barter. Ooh. Granola, yummy. I love granola. I like bartering too. I do the same thing with roast. We make Mississippi mud roast. Then have pulled pork sandwiches and pulled pork nachos. That's awesome. I like M.I. Gardner or Seed Saver Exchange, and Mary's heirloom seeds are great. Awesome. I refuse to buy anything from M.I. Gardner, but that's my problem. He was very nasty to somebody, so I refuse to buy from him. But Seed Saver Exchange and Mary's heirlooms are great. Juana says Mary's heirloom is awesome. Awesome. I love that. Um, let's see. I want to make sure I covered everything. Let me go back quick as we get here. So there's no single way to be an ingredient household, and it doesn't mean eliminating convenience foods altogether. For some, it means cooking from scratch often. For others, it's just keeping raw ingredients on hand for flexibility. The goal is to create a kitchen that makes cooking easier, more affordable, and more accessible in a way that fits your needs. Um, Having staple ingredients on hand can help you create meals with what you already have, saving trips to the store and allowing for more creativity in the kitchen. And if you're looking to get started, pick one or two small changes to make this week and see how it fits in your routine. The best seeds I got was from Adrian. Oh, cool. Heather says I try to just seed save mostly. That's awesome. Gwen says order from MI Gardner this year. Great price, lots of seeds per package. Our feed co-op sells seeds by the ounce or pound. Busy, you said need to start saving our own seeds. Saw where a guy sliced tomatoes and put in pots and stored in the cellar until spring. Not sure if it works here, but sounded great. I agree. I am bad on the seed saving. I need to get better at it. It's like the bread. Like I know how to do it. I need to do it. You know, definitely need to get better at it. The seed swap is the best. Yeah, Adrian's seed swap is really awesome. There's a lot of seed swaps out of there. Um, the one thing that our gardening club here does, they do at the library, they do a seed thing and they give out a bunch of seeds and they had a huge turnout last year and they really gave out some beautiful things. And then they leave the seed packets for people to take if they couldn't make it. Like they leave. It's just what a wonderful way to share. It's just amazing. I love it. I love it. I take advantage of it and I really enjoy it. I enjoy walking around it. So it's a lot of fun. Do any of you guys have questions on ingredient household stuff? I'm curious. I like Dawn's suggestions on doing the little meal planning sessions and making meals. And Dawn has a large family. That's making it work right there. That's making it work right there. Let me tell you. At least with us, it's just two of us, but when you got a lot of people in your house, it's a lot harder. It's a lot more challenging. I know for us, it's like I bought a thing of Castile soap and I wanted to make a bunch of different products than that. So Brenda Busy You says, do you have a staple list that you go by? No, but I could probably make one up for you. You mean one that we use in our house? I could totally make one up for you. I mean, off the top of my head, we always have flour, sugar, honey, maple syrup. We always have onions, freeze-dried onions, or onions frozen, diced onions in the freezer. I could probably make a list for you. It would include everything that we, put through and stuff. So yeah, if you want one, I can make one for you. It just seems to, I don't have a list. I just have it in my head of what I go for, and what we keep. Heather says, what I wonder is, are the seeds true to their parent when doing those things? I've been thinking about that recently. So It's a good thought. I don't know enough about it, but I do know that sometimes they're not. Sometimes they can be affected. You know, heirloom seeds obviously are the ones you want to save from, which Heather, I know you know that. But it's sometimes they're not true to the parent. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not an expert. One thing I will say is one of the things that I like is I would only save seeds from things that have done well here. You know, for example, I buy my garlic at the farmer's market and I use that for my garlic seed. And the reason why I do that is I know they're growing it here and it works really well. So this year we should actually have enough to replant this time, I'm hoping. Heather said eggs and spices are things on her staple list. Jennifer says, I don't trust people's seed saving. They're probably cross-pollinated or not saved properly, but it's worth trying. If it's something you can't get from a seed store unless they are new seeds in the pack. Okay. Brenda said the same thing about heirloom seeds if you want to save seeds, not hybrids, because they won't be true. Heather says, I only get heirloom if I can. And Gwen says, if you grow more than one variety of heirloom tomato, they most likely cross. I agree. It depends on how close everything is planted. Like, I plant very close. And basically my rule is I quickly look if it's, you know, do not plant with tomatoes kind of thing. Heather says like loofah can cross with gourds, needs to be a half mile from them. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. Jennifer says I only use heirloom seeds, but unless you're really good on spacing per variety and know when to harvest seeds, they will most likely be cross-pollinated. He has a YouTube channel as well called Half-Ass Homestead David Moffat. Huh. Loofah doesn't cross with gourds. Interesting. Interesting. Well, anyway, I will stay out of the seed rabbit hole because you know me. I want to grow food. I'm not the gardener. I don't get joy out of it. I just want the food. Well, I hope this was helpful, you guys. I hope this was helpful. I appreciate you guys spending Friday evening with me. It means a lot to me. So thank you very, very much. And I hope y'all, that's a deep rabbit hole. It is a deep rabbit hole. There's so much info out there. It's info overload. Overload. And then you don't know what's true. That's the worst part about it. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy when you look at stuff like that. Unreal. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and stay safe and thanks. Take care. Thank you, Anna. Bye, everybody. Take care.